Hi, it's Brian here and welcome onto today's show. Now today we're going completely USA. We're going to be talking about the United States of America. You know, how do you get work there or work in there? And what about if you're an American actress and you want to work here in Britain? Interesting. Let's go to the first question.
I'm a 6-foot-tall American actress with a killer Surrey accent. How can I build relationships with UK casting directors? Lydia Cap-Gatilla.
Okay, interesting. So you're 6 foot tall, you're an American actress with a killer Surrey accent. Interesting. And how do you build relationships here in Britain? Well, it's a good question. Well, here's the first thing you should think about is the thing that makes you different in Britain right now is the fact that you're a 6 foot tall American actress. So one of the things that I think you should focus on is educating the casting directors in that fact. Because you're in a country where obviously not everybody is American, and that's what makes you different right now. That is your niche. So if I were you, I would really focus on that area first. Now, the fact that you can do a really great British accent, a Surrey accent, is brilliant too, because that means that you can go up for British roles. And I think really the main person that needs to know about that is your agent, because when those roles come up, they can tell you, look, this is a British role, obviously you're going up for, or they can educate the casting director on the fact that, look, she's an American actress, but does a brilliant British accent. And they can therefore lay the ground with that casting director to the fact that you're actually American, but going to be doing a British accent. So I would kind of, to be honest with you, I would focus on the fact that you are American and what makes you different with the casting directors, first of all. And then obviously, you know, sort of pad it out with the fact that you can do British and prove it to them, you know, and give your agent a chance to put you forward for those kind of roles too. Okay, let's go to the next question.
How would you go about becoming a professional actor in America? Sarah Sapphire.
So getting work in America is kind of tricky, to be honest, if you're based here in the UK, but not impossible. You know, I've had many students that have in the end managed to actually either work there or completely move there and work there. So it is possible, but it's not the easiest process in the world. So there's kind of two routes that you can take. You can start off work here in the UK and build up your credits, and then at a suitable point, you know, when there's castings that are happening in America, and they're looking across the world now, not just in America, of course. And there's a lot of British actors that work in America. So the fact is that they are coming outside of America to look for different actors. So when that happens, you can always say to your agent, look, I'm really interested in working in America. Would you be able to put me forward for castings that revolve around that? And they will keep an eye out for that, and hopefully they will, you know, sort of go with you on that journey. Now, there will be some agents that don't want to do that. You know, they're just purely focused on the UK and they're not interested in getting involved in that side of the things. In which case, you might need to make a decision about whether you stay in the UK and pursue that route, or do you move to America? If you stay in the UK, you might need to find an agent that has a foot in both countries, for example, that is based in the UK, but also has offices in America. Or you decide that you're going to move completely to the States. Now, if you move completely to America, there's going to be, you have to get a visa. Now, this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're thinking about making this sort of transition. They kind of wake up one morning and go, you know what, I really want to act in America. They get on a plane, they get over there, they're all excited, and, you know, the industry isn't interested because you don't have a work permit. So you must have a work visa. I can't stress that highly enough. Don't bother going to America without one, right? Because at the end of the day, you've got to make sure that's in place. Now, if you're getting cast from this country, an American production, the American production company may do that for you. If they really want you and they decide, look, this person must do this role, then they will go through the process of getting the visa for you. Now, if it's a case that you're just wanting to go over there and start your career there, then you're going to need to do that yourself. And you're going to need a very good lawyer, basically, that will help you take you through the visa process in order to secure a work permit. But I strongly suggest you get that in place first before you even entertain doing anything else. You know, I also think it's a good idea for you to understand what it's like out there. So maybe doing a sort of a recce out in America is a good idea too. You know, every year I take my students out there for a week to immerse themselves in the atmosphere and the industry of LA, because is very different. And, you know, it suits some people's personalities and maybe not others. So I think it's important that, because if you're going to live there, you've got to understand, is this really where I want to be? Does this suit me? So I think it's a good idea to get out there, to test the water, see what it's like. But just bear in mind, if you're really serious about doing it, you're going to need that work visa. Okay, so I think that kind of clears up that particular question. Let's go to the next one.
What advice can you give to someone who's willing to do whatever it takes to become a professional actor, but only has limited resources? Lee Borisova.
Okay, so here is my response to this. Are you really willing to do everything it takes? Seriously, everything it takes. Because that is the main point here. Because if you're willing to do everything and anything it takes to get there, you know, it's not really about limited resources. In fact, it's never about a limitation of resources. There's always more than enough out there for you to go after and try. But it tends to be more of a mental approach to this, you know, how you actually think about it. Because some people think, you know what, I don't have any money, or I don't live in London, or, you know, I don't live in the location where all the acting industry is, or my family don't support this, and my friends don't think I should become an actor. And that is the limitation. It's not actually limited resources. Because at the end of the day, there's always a way to make something happen. So for example, if you are really wanting to get into the industry, then you need to think of the many different ways, steps that you need to take in order to get to that point. You know, is there an acting class you can go to? Is there some amateur dramatics you can get involved in? What about creating your own film? What about creating your own story, writing a script? What about actually collaborating with other people in order to create something, a short film or a play? There's many different ways that you can do this. So I think it's not really about limited resources. I think that is the mental thing that goes on with a lot of people. They kind of think their resources are limited. But the truth is, it's not limited. If you look out there in the whole wide world about what's available to you today, through technology, opportunity, there's never been a better time to create within the acting industry than it is right now. Listen, when I came into the industry, there was no mobile phones. There was no phones on cameras. There was, if you wanted to film something, listen, the camera you needed was the size of a bus, right? I mean, it was crazy. It was so difficult. There was no computers. Can you believe it? That's how old I am. I mean, proper personal computers where you could type up letters. I had, you know, the kind of typewriter I had, typewriter with memory. And that was state of the art. Now, basically, you could type something up and it would remember the same letter and you could print it off again. So here's the thing, is that when people say to me today, especially young people, they go, my resources are limited, or I don't know how, I can't, there's no opportunity. That's totally untrue. I mean, there's more opportunity now than there's ever been. You just need to be aware of them. You need to start looking for the opportunities and going out and trying to make things happen. Am I saying it's easy? No, I'm not. But then again, the things that are most worth having in life don't tend to be easy things. They takes effort. It requires you to kind of put yourself in the line. It requires you to take risks. It requires you to go out there and make connections and make things happen. So that's what I was saying in response to that question. It's not limited resources. It's about limited thinking. And if you open up your thinking about this, you'll start to see, actually, you know what? Brian's right. There is more opportunities than I thought. So go ahead and start to identify the opportunities and see if you can make things happen for yourself. Okay, that brings us to the end of today's show. So we've covered America, we've covered limited thinking. I don't know, where do we go with the next show? There's so many topics we've covered, but I'm sure you've got more questions. So why don't you send them in on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, or email, or even film yourself and send it in to me and we'll show it on the show. Great. Okay, I look forward to speaking to you on the next one.